It's 10:05 now. Time to say hello to Mrs. Chippendale.
Hello, Shane.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to yourself.
I haven't seen you since last year, which is not that long ago.
It seems a long time ago already.
What'd you get up to? Much? Have a holiday?
Oh, no, the normal things. Everybody converges on my house for Christmas Day, so it's all family and friends, which is lovely. New Year was quiet for me, which is good. So, and then into it.
Yeah, back to business right now. What do we got on the program for today?
All right, today I want to cover a few things. I'd like to cover a little bit about the solar bonus scheme changes because that's important to landlords, homeowners and tenants. It affects everybody there. We will also be speaking to the marketing estate manager from realestate.com as to the information that they have found with, you know, what's happening with purchases and so forth for the new year and how things are going. I'd also like to mention a little bit about the REIQ Breakfast Zone meeting that's being held here next week.
Good.
Which is great for agents. And if we have time, a little bit about the crackdown on unruly tenants with different things that's happening with the state government. And also, if we also have a bit more time, a little bit of interesting, probably chit-chat about the differences in some countries as to why size of properties is so important as compared to they may be smaller and what we do here in Australia.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, you go to America, it's quite common to have like 1 acre blocks for a lot of places, and not so much in the urban areas, but certainly in the more semi-country areas.
Yes.
Whereas over here, you either have just your normal house blocks or you have great big land tracts.
Yeah, but then if you compare it to Europe and parts of those, there's so many people live in your small townhouses and your small, you know, and they're all
condominiums and all that sort of stuff.
Just stacked along one street, and we all go, oh my God, you know.
How do they survive without a backyard?
So it's all a little bit different.
Indeed. And music we're going to continue on with too this morning. Got some great music on for this morning, and of course your calls. I guess if people want to come in and give
Excellent.
you a call. 5495-1015. This is the Morning Magazine Show, and we have an interview coming up fairly shortly too. So be on the lookout for that too. Right now it's time for some Crowded House and Don't Dream It's Over. 101.5 FM and the real estate program here on the radio. It's nice to have your company. It's coming up to, let's see, it is 10 now.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good, thanks, Lee. Yourself?
Yes, good. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year.
Yes, I did indeed, and I hope yourself and all the listeners did too. It's certainly a bright 2013.
Yes, and we're already nearly through January. Scary, isn't it?
It is, I know, in the shops, and you're seeing Easter things. That's scary.
Oh, don't start on that. Okay, so it is the new year. What are people's new plans for property?
Yeah, look, we did a bit of a survey to see what people were planning for 2013, all those New Year's resolutions, and it was encouraging that over 60% of our respondents are looking to actually purchase a property in the upcoming year.
Excellent.
And nearly a third of those are also planning to sell their current property and upgrade to something bigger. So certainly some really good signs there.
Well, I actually think most of us here in the Caboolture-Morayfield region or the Moreton Bay Regional Council area that sell real estate, I think we would be starting to see that because 2013 has definitely started off better than 2012.
Yeah, and interesting that the end of 2012, talking to a lot of agents, was actually a very good December for most offices too.
Yes, which is funny for December. Okay, Australian dream is to have their own house. Is this the case with Gen Y?
Yeah, interesting that Gen Y is seen as, I suppose, a renting demographic. And our survey results show that about 62% of the 18 to 24-year-olds actually plan to save a deposit for their first home and enter the property market this year. So that's also good from a first homer's buying point of view.
Definitely, and the you know, hopefully that will flow through. And as we all know, if the lower end starts to move and then the next end starts to move and continues, and it all goes in a nice little circle.
Yeah, well, it matches in with the people upgrading to a bigger home. Their homes become available for those first home buyers to enter the market, so it's a good cycle for everyone to be in.
Okay, I'm one of those baby boomers. What about the baby boomer generation? What are they going to do with their houses for the year?
Yeah, look, interesting that nearly half of the respondents, which we looked at 65 plus...
I'm not quite that yet.
No, not yet then. That's all right then. It might be still baby boomer, but the 65 plus then are planning to actually sell their home in order to move to a smaller property. So they're looking to go the other way. And there's, I suppose, overall, there's definitely a growing sense of confidence about the 2013 property market.
So they're the downsizers.
They're the downsizers. So I suppose they're part of that cycle that they're looking to downsize and, who knows, maybe travel and do other things and... others can then upgrade to the bigger homes and first home buyers can enter the market.
All sounds very promising. Were there any other New Year's resolutions from your study with what you did with your research?
Yeah, we also looked at other buying habits, and interesting that obviously technology and gadgets continued their growth. It was about 35% of people are actually hoping to upgrade their current mobile devices, so their iPads, iPhones, over the coming year. And quite interesting that over 70% of people have indicated they won't slow down their use of social media. So very, very much consuming from that point of view. And our, I suppose, traditional New Year's resolutions still ranked highly on the list, with 60% of people, committing to the old losing weight, and half planning to actually volunteer their time to a good cause. Was a really nice one to read in the survey.
That's lovely.
People are looking to donate their time.
Well, that's something this country runs on. People need volunteers and helpers, otherwise the country just doesn't survive.
Yeah, correct. And it's they're the sort of extra good news stories that come out of it, that people are thinking about others.
All right, Andrew. So Andrew Turner, I thank you, who is our marketing state manager from realestate.com, who generously gives his busy time to speak to us. And look, I thank you very much, and we'll be speaking again soon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good morning, listeners. We're back again. So just want to talk to you briefly, and it does more so affect agents, but it's important for you to know that we, as agents, are keeping up with the information that we need to. This Wednesday, the 6th of February, at the Hub here at Caboolture, the REIQ is holding a breakfast zone meeting. Now, these have been re-established in the past, in the last just 12 months. The REIQ is our body that we refer to. They keep us conversant with many things, with government rulings, with legislation and so forth. So they're our group that we are, well, most of us adhere to and join. So the information that they're going to be covering this month at the breakfast will be, they'll be covering the correct procedures and forms required, from appraisals of properties all the way through to contracts for your sales, also with property management, from obtaining the 20A to list your properties for us for rentals, and all the way through, and the correct forms that you need, that we need, and it's explained. And I think it's just crazy if we don't go, because it just keeps us current, keeps us conversant, and it just makes it easier for all of us, so that we all know what we're doing properly.
It also ensures that you are following the legal laws, so that you don't get in trouble. Yeah, it's very important that.
Most definitely.
It really must be complicated. All the forms you got to do, and all the dots you got to cross, and all the rest.
It is.
Is it stressful for you guys?
Well, the laws change often, and we are, we have to follow those laws. We suffer huge penalties if we don't, and that's rightly so. But sometimes people may misunderstand things, and you have to try and explain things to people properly, and particularly people buying a first home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing, and then you'll get the people that have been in their same home for 30 years, and then they decide to sell and buy again, and it's just they come into you and they go, oh my goodness, it's all just changed so much. And it has, and we have to keep conversant with that.
Now, these forms you talk about, that not only affects the property market for sales, but also for rentals as well?
Definitely, okay. Because it's very, the rules seems to change with that every 5 minutes, but anyway, yes, and we have to keep conversant with those. So property management is very legislative, and you have to be, and the tenants have to be protected, the landlord has to be protected, and we have to protect ourselves.
And dare I say, the umbrella group that looks after you guys, the group that you just mentioned,
REIQ, yeah.
REIQ, do they also take information and experiences from you guys as companies back to the people who make the legislation?
Most definitely, and because there's the similar companies are in Victoria, South Australia, the same, but they are the body that often does get called with the government, and the government will come and talk to them regarding information that they want to get. They want to change a piece of legislation, so they will go to the REIQ, and the REIQ then comes to us as business owners or real estate agents or what have you, as to our experiences and our feedback, because we're at the coalface, we're dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then they take that back to whichever government is in power at the time, and whoever's trying to change a rule or add something or change something. So yes, it is very much, we give them the info, they come back to us, and vice versa.
It sounds complicated, but in the end of the day, it's actually a fairly fluid thing. It's always evolving, and as you said, laws are changing all the time for a reason, because sometimes they don't always work out the way they were intended.
And that's exactly right. So you can't keep the rules that were relevant back in the 1800s. The world changes.
So that breakfast will be very important to get
for agents. Yeah, they're made if they don't go.
Okay. Now, coming up fairly shortly, we're going to talk about
solar bonus scheme changes.
Solar bonus. Now, that's been on the tip of my tongue lately, so it'll be interesting. Right now, we're going to have some music, though. Okay. Let's groove with CDB. All right, it's right now at 10:30 at the moment, and Lee Chippendale, we've got some other issues we want to talk about, and solar panels.
Yes,
in the news.
Some little bit of changes here. So I'll just read a bit of an article for you.
Okay.
It's regarding the solar bonus scheme changes. So on the 23rd of November 2012, a number of significant changes to the Queensland solar bonus scheme were announced. Included in the new legislation are changes that impact the value of the payment received by the new homeowners and tenants for excess energy fed into the network under the scheme. So it's going to affect your hip pocket. Commencing 23rd of November 2012, all new electricity accounts for new homeowners, tenants or landlords of premises with an existing rooftop solar photovoltaic system that has been approved under the Queensland Solar Bonus Scheme with an inverter capacity of no greater than 5 kilowatts will receive a revised rate of 8 cents per kilowatt hour for excess energy fed into the network. Since then, for systems with an inverter capacity greater than 5 kilowatts, no feed-in tariff will apply under the scheme. So there's some changes there. So if you need a fact sheet, it's available on the Energex website, or you can also visit the Department of Energy and Water Supply website. So that will give more detailed information. So, but basically, you know, you're not going to get as much money as people were getting before.
One of the ideas that I came up with at the solar panels was, because a lot of people only get like a 2 or 3 or 4, or maybe even a 5 kilowatt. Why not get a 15 kilowatt or 12 kilowatt, which would cater for a normal household and do your air conditioning, get battery backups, and take yourself off the grid. Now, that would be the better way to go.
Well, it probably would be.
When I last did research on solar panels, I think back in 2008, 2009, it would have cost me about $40,000.
Yes,
however, now they've become more efficient and cheaper. I think it's closer to about $25,000 now.
And they can be even less, I know, even when...
And that's for a 12 kilowatt unit.
Yeah. They've come down considerably in price, and also now, since this rebate has changed, they've dropped again.
What is the rebate now?
Depending on some people, depending on when they came into it. Some get as high as 40, some are down. It's
all over
varied.
The place.
It's all over the place.
It originally was a good idea, but then they found it was costing them too much because they were paying out so much money. But so clearly the idea now is, rather than doing that, just get off the grid completely.
Well, there are people that would try to do that, yeah.
I've seen a few houses, and they say, man, it's just so good. Don't have to pay a bill, and we just use what we like, and it's from the sun.
It's great. I have it. And
do you? How big is yours?
5 kilowatts, a lot of panels.
Now, you can add to that, though, can't you?
If you have enough roof space, yes.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, I think you have to get a bit, the inverter that works on those.
Correct.
They have to be upgraded to take the bigger capacity. But you don't have the battery backup system.
No. But just one interesting point. We, as agents, we often get asked, because many people now do have the solar panels on, and the first thing we often are asked is, will it increase the price of our home to sell it? Okay. A bit like pools, the money you spend on it may not necessarily get you the money back that you've spent. However, usually makes a property more attractive. And also in the renting department, if you have a rental property that has solar, your tenants are more likely to want that house because of the savings they make.
Interesting point. And for pools, I mean...
Pools are different.
A lot of people don't want to clean them.
No.
And that can be a problem. Whereas that's a very practical thing, the solar panels.
Exactly.
And much more attractive on a number of fronts, not just because you can swim anytime you want.
And look, it's the old thing, if you have a pool, you don't take people to look at the property if they don't want a pool. Everyone would want the energy.
The good thing about solar panels is very little maintenance.
You do have to clean them.
Yeah.
But it's very minimal.
Apparently they have a lifespan of something like 30, 40 years these days. And they're being made
good.
Yeah, they're very, very good. The most important thing, as you said, it's the savings that you have. And people are going to want that. So will that increase the price of the property that you rent? Will that make that a premium?
Again, you may get a little bit more for your property with it. Yes. Yeah. You may get a bit more per week.
And how are you finding most tenants deal with that? Are they happy with that?
Oh, the tenants that we have that have properties with solar panels, they love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it decreases their electricity bills.
What sort of values are we looking at? If it's 5 kilowatt unit, what sort of prices and reduction in power bills can you expect from your experience?
Well, see, that, again, it all depends on, like, you may have one family that had 4 children, mum and dad.
Yeah.
See, to put a price on that, it really depends on the family, their habits. You know, they may have a teenage daughter who's in there for half an hour, uses all the hot water, electricity. It depends on so many things.
Now, that's the other solar aspect, is hot water services.
Yes.
Some houses have that as well as the electricity.
Correct.
Does that have an impact?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely all saves money. Okay, your outlay is not cheap, but in the long run, you will save money.
Out of all the houses, just between you and me in the post, out of most of the houses that you deal with, what sort of percentage have now got solar?
Okay, traditionally then, that's
Hard one, is it?
It is a hard one. You'll go through phases where you'll have quite a few that will have it, and then you may have, listings in your office that no one has it.
Okay.
So, but if you drive around the area these days and you look at roofs, it seems like nearly every second house has them. So,
Yeah, it's certainly becoming more popular as the crow flies. So, yeah, and I'm looking forward to more development on that. And as I said, because 2008, 2009, I think they had about a 20% success rate in transfer of electricity from the sun.
Yes.
Now it's going up to something like 30, 35%. So the efficiency is improving all the time. So you get more bang for your buck and all the rest of it. So it's definitely a thing worth thinking about. Now, there used to be a thing you used to get a government grant.
Yes.
Does that exist anymore, or is that all gone?
I don't know that still exists. I would have to check on that
Pretty
for
sure
you.
I heard they were going to get rid of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to say it's definitely gone, but
Something
it's definitely not as... I'll check it up for you and follow that up from you in the next fortnight.
That.
Okay?
Yeah. All right, some more music, I guess, right now, and pretty soon we'll have some more on traffic. And what's our next issue we're going to talk about fairly shortly?
Our next issue will be a bit about a crackdown on unruly public housing tenants.
Ah, yes, that's one worth the books. A little song now from the Mavises, an Australian song too. And don't forget, tomorrow we're playing all Australian music. This song could be there. Here's Cry. Moreton Bay Area's #1 radio. This is 101.5 FM.
Okay, just before Christmas, the state government held the 7th Annual National Housing Conference in Brisbane.
Okay.
They have introduced a new 3-strike rule for unruly public housing tenants.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, well, mind you, look, there's a 3-strike rule for everybody, really, if we follow the letters of the law. So what the government is saying that they would ensure that taxpayers' money was protected and valued in creating essential social housing stock by cracking down on those who abuse the system.
Now, what happens if someone's already been abusing and has been caught and not... Do they still get 3 strikes?
Okay, so I would say it will be introduced as of when the legislation comes through, and obviously, as the government said, I mean, governments they have to have a sense of helping people, that are finding it difficult, so they have to provide housing for them. What they're also saying is that they will need to ensure, if these people get the 3 strikes and they're out, they still have to try and find something for them that they don't become homeless as a result. So there is that side of it as well that they still have to address.
Well, I suppose, but it becomes a bit of a dagger in an orange sort of situation where what a homeowner would want to have someone who's unruly coming into their house knowing that they've got a history of it. I'm not trying to be biased against them, but if they're not learning from the first 3 strikes and they've done it again, there's some sort of a track record happening here.
Well, this rule applies to the public housing sector that they can introduce here.
Right.
But, okay, and there has been more of a leniency in years gone by.
Right.
So they're bringing this in so that they're virtually meeting the rules and regulations that the normal Joe Blow really has to abide by now. And look, you're exactly right. The first thing we do when we have tenants come in to apply for a property, we do what's called a ticker check, which is a national...
I've heard of that,
yeah. And that shows anybody that for various reasons have been placed on ticket because they may not have paid their rent, they may have destroyed the damages in the property, variation of different rules. And there are rules as to how we can put them on. You just can't put people on that willy-nilly.
It usually is a result of a court action, so if you've been evicted, that sort of thing. Is that right?
And usually if they just will not pay their rent and you've tried to chase them up, you've forwarded letters to them, you've tried to do everything, so then eventually you do. And because it does come back to the thing of if those people are continually doing that, you know, the next landlord that gets them, they're going to have a heck of a time with them.
Yeah.
And please let me say, there are awesome people out there that are brilliant tenants. You know, absolutely brilliant.
We're only talking about the people who are not so brilliant, who habitually wreck places or let dogs run around.
All those horrible stories you see on the news. Yeah. And so this is pertaining to that. Virtually what the government has said is that they're proposing to crack down on the unruly tenants by asking them to leave if they receive 3 strikes within 12 months for disruptive behaviour like noisy parties, vandalism, destroying property. Then if the tenants have engaged in assault or acts of violence, they're out straight away. But then this becomes a problem of where do you put them, because then they become homeless.
And will they also get on the TICA list as a result of those actions as well?
That is a question I can't answer, because it's
up to the legal system to deal with that.
And it's the government, so
But real estate agents can have someone put on there for...
Most definitely.
What sort of criteria before you go to that step? Is it like 3 strikes anyway? Is it...
Look, if you want to be really hard-nailed, and again, depends on the tenant and so many things, but you can, if they get 3 breaches, and we have certain times that we have to allow for those breaches to be fixed and so forth, then they can be, you know, we sometimes may have to bring the police into it, all that type of thing, it may have to go to court. But virtually 3 strikes really. If rigidage, if that's the 3 strikes and they're the same things and they just haven't amended them and they haven't done what they're supposed to do, we can put them on TICA. We are supposed to notify them that they are going on TICA. Hard sometimes if they've fled the state and you don't know where they're going.
Now, TICA exists right across the nation of Australia?
Yes, most definitely.
So even if they do flee Queensland, go to, say, Western Australia, they won't find me.
Yes, they will.
They will find.
Yes.
Because you need to use proper ID, obviously, for
most definitely. You have ID, driver's licence, Medibank cards, that type of stuff. You have to provide your income for us, because legally we are obliged to ensure that we do not put you into financial hardship if we put you into a property that is more than you can afford. So legally we are bound to watch that. You have to produce your pays, or if you don't have pay slips, a bank statement or something that produces how much you live off of.
And of course then there's the history.
Definitely.
I guess what, back 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, and the first thing we'll ask is, were you renting before? Where were you? The first thing agents will do is send a request off to that other office. We request a ledger which shows their payments and how they paid. Okay, and, you know, questions like, you know, did they report maintenance issues? Did they keep their pets outside? Did they keep home clean and tidy? Would you rent to them again? Things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what if someone's had a TICA listing against them, and they've owed money? Let's say, for example, a couple of grand of, you know, arrears and rent. To get off TICA, do they have to still pay that rent? So, if they, okay.
And look, very interestingly, there are some people that have honestly made mistakes. You know, they've fallen on hard times. You know, they've lost a job or terrible things.
What about if they've done it on purpose, though, and decide, I don't want to pay the rent, and I'm not going to, and that was it, and they got particularly,
totally different situation. But you will get some people that have misfortunate things, you know, terrible things, and those people are usually the ones that will say, look, I'll make a payment plan, you know, and it may be $40 a week, $50 a week, and that's where we'll say, well, look, provided you maintain that and keep on that and do the right thing, you will not be reported.
So getting off TICA, you have to pay the fine first, or pay whatever it is that you owe first?
It's not a fine, it's whatever you've done.
Yeah, that's right. And will you be guaranteed getting off TICA, or is it still up to their discretion as to whether or not, well, even though you've paid your dues or whatever you've done?
The office that has reported you, if you do the right thing and get that back, they should request that you be taken off TICA. You can be on there for up to 7 years, though.
Really? And so, I mean, essentially, you could be refused if you're unruly and you've not paid your rent and all the rest. They may still say, no, you're going to stay on TICA. Really?
Well, look, there are some people that just, unfortunately, they should never rent.
They should buy instead.
Well,
we could never afford it.
Well, but look, you know, there's great, and as we said before, this is about the unruly ones. There's many people out there that do the right thing in public housing and normal rental.
Now, your umbrella group you were talking about before, were they part of these recommendations as well?
They would have spoken with them, yes. Yeah, because this is all the information. And look, it's not, the government doesn't only speak with the REIQ, but it's like any big organisation. They will try and talk to the people that they deal with to get the feedback, because they're a big organisation. They can't talk to every person in the street.
What sort of, from your perspective, and I'm not trying to, single you out, you're the only one I can talk to at the moment, but in general, if we can, how often do you find you have unruly customers within, say, your business? Just as a rough, are we looking at 1%, just a few? Or
it would only be 1 or 2%. In the years that I've had my office, the professionals, I think we've been to court twice since 2007. So
would you find that the same with most companies?
Look, the bigger the rent roll, the more problems you'll have, like anything.
Yeah, it's all based on numbers.
Exactly. So,
but we're still looking. It's very minimal for each of them, I guess. It would be the consensus. Would that be right?
There are some officers that say they've been in court many times, but they've probably got bigger rent rolls. But look, a lot of it comes back to trying, whilst we as agents work for our landlord in this instance, we still have to try and work with our tenant, because if the tenant is happy, that keeps the landlord happy, makes our job happier. So if we can work with them and communicate with them and talk to them, the first thing we say is, look, if something happens and you're having a problem, come and talk to us, because we can send you to groups that can help you, and all different things like that. And look, if they're really bad and you do your ticket checks and that, agents will say, just don't touch them, just stay away.
It's unfortunate because, they may very well, in time, want to rehabilitate themselves and do a better job.
Oh, there's ones out there that do, and they're great.
And there's always a caravan. I suppose you can live there for a while and just till you get yourself sorted out.
Can I say to you, the caravan parks have the same rules that they have to apply by.
Really? So the unruliness cannot exist there as well?
Yeah, they have, there's different rules with their on leases and everything. They have to have certain rules that we have to abide by as well.
Are they covered under REIQ?
REIQ, not every agency is with the REIQ. You pay a membership fee to be part of the REIQ. Not every office real estate agent is a member of the REIQ.
Okay.
I am, and many are in town.
Okay. And it's with, I guess, their good work and them listening to you, they're able to formulate these policies. Now, this isn't what you were saying before, it is now.
At this point in time, it's been coming through, so as of yet, it hasn't come through that we know that it's dead set.
Okay. Through. What sort of time frame are we expecting before that's even discussed and brought before Parliament?
They've announced it, so it will be going through very soon. They're back in Parliament, I guess. So soon.
Yeah. Okay. And you'll let us know as soon as that does happen?
Yes, I will.
Awesome stuff. It's a very busy year for us.
It is.
Is there anything else you want to talk about this morning?
There is, but I think we're going to run out of time to get into it because we've only got a few moments. So
about 5 minutes. We can certainly talk about something else if you want.
Well, very quickly, it was an interesting little read in today's paper. The gentleman who is Andrew Winter, he does the Selling Houses Australia.
Okay.
He's the English gentleman that always tickles my fancy with some of his comments that he comes out with. And it was just interesting that he was saying the difference within Australia, and this is what I touched on at the beginning of the program. Just say England, okay? You see their shows and renovating and houses for sale and so forth, and you'll just see these rows and rows and rows and rows of houses, little townhouses, I suppose we'd call them here, and how Australians seem to be obsessed with it has to be big, or the units have to be large, and so forth.
And not attached to another building. And
exactly.
A big backyard and a big front yard and all the rest
and
of
I
it.
suppose it comes from the fact that we do still have land that we can grow and do things. But becoming in the cities, harder. And it was just interesting that he was saying how perhaps, and not only the people, it's the banks with their lending and their attitude toward it as well.
Yeah.
But the article was saying how, maybe you don't get so obsessed by it. Maybe we need to start looking at the design and how the places are built. And I think that is very important because you can see houses and so forth that were built back in, I'm just saying a house here, for instance, that may have been built in the 1970s, the standard narrow hallway, da-da-da-da. I have a little one that's down in Torval at the moment that the owners have taken out walls. They've made it look absolutely gorgeous, bigger, because they've opened it up, used their space very cleverly.
Right.
And whilst it's not a big property, the way they've done it and designed it and rehashed it, it just looks awesome. So it was just interesting that this Andrew Winter was saying, let's look at design, let's look at style, let's not get so obsessed with the size of things, because coming into the cities and getting, more people, it also gives people the opportunity to get in at the first level to buy, because they won't be as dear. And it was just an interesting concept, and it's maybe one that I would like to try and get hold of some architects and have a yap to them. And
that would be good, and get them in the studios. That would be very good. And just
the things that we could do that change things, and the way they see how we are progressing and changing with that, because there's also stuff also really happening down more toward
the city itself?
Yeah, but still in our region that are happening. So I might do a little bit more research on that.
Next week's program, what are you looking at doing next week?
Next week I think there is another person here, not me.
Ooh, so I'm going to be thrown into the mix here.
Wow. Unless they haven't told me something.
And I'm hoping you'll be listening.
Oh, I will be.
See how I go.
I will be.
It'll be all fun. Well, look, you have a lovely week. We'll catch up again real soon.
Lovely show.
Pete Chippendale here live on the radio and 101.5 FM. We have the latest news coming up for you at 11 o'clock.